What's going on, disruptors? Welcome to Sharing in the Disruption podcast. I'm Mike Satoshi, and here we level the playing field by helping you understand the exponential changes going on in the world of tech and investing. And today, I logged onto Coinbase, and they have 3 new coins. So I wasn't really planning on talking about this, but I get really excited when they add new coins, even though obviously there's other ways to get these coins than just on Coinbase. But they've got 3 new coins. Kind of checked out the different ones that they have. The 3 coins that Coinbase added are Enzyme Finance, AMP token, and what's this other one? Git Coin. So they're all 3 really interesting ones that I really did not know much about until I started digging into them. They all seem to be Ethereum based, which is what I definitely look for, as I think that will be. There could be a multi blockchain ecosystem, but Ethereum will definitely be part of that, if not the main chain. I am much more bullish on Ethereum than I used to be on Bitcoin. I think it's got a much more vibrant ecosystem. And so one of the main things I look for investing is coins built off the Ethereum blockchain. But I mean, there are tokens that I'm involved with that aren't. A couple blockchains I am interested in is Cardano and Polkadot. I'm actually mining Helium token, which is on Algorand. But one blockchain I don't mess around with really is Binance and Solana, mostly because I've heard things about Solana, but it is more centralized, and Binance is very centralized. And I have kind of drawn a line in the sand and decided that I want to invest in the projects that are the most decentralized. Why am I not talking about Bitcoin, you ask? Because I think of Bitcoin as digital gold, but I don't think there's a lot of other stuff going on. There is a layer 2 with the Lightning Network, but there's not a lot going on with that, because why would you exchange Bitcoin? You just want to hold it. So there's a lot of movement and exchange and things happening on the Ethereum ecosystem. I think most people would agree with me. So I haven't really talked. Coinbase did add a coin recently, and that is Dogecoin. And I think they just did that as a pandering thing. I mean, I don't want to offend people that like Dogecoin, but I don't view it as a good investment. If you want to buy it, sweet. Like, I view it, I mean, it's speculative in my opinion. So go for it. I've got a chat open. So if anybody has any questions about anything, and I can go into stuff, and I love answering questions. I have a Twitter. You can follow me at Mike Satoshi 4, and I follow a lot of people in the crypto and the stock space and disruption and technology. And so I respond to people. I forward things on. I do have a newsletter as well that goes out in email that you can sign up for if you want to see my opinions. I try to do it on a weekly basis, and I even throw some artwork. Maybe I want to do some NFT someday, but I do some artwork based off of kind of stuff, some of the stuff that's in the news, and I have fun doing it. And so I'll get into these different projects that Coinbase has added. So Git Coin is the one that looks the most interesting to me. It's a play, I think, on Github, which Github is kind of an open source. It's owned by Microsoft, so it's only so open source. But GitHub is an open source platform that developers can collaborate on a lot of different coding projects, and a lot of the blockchain projects are collaborations on GitHub. And sometimes I do, when I'm thinking about investing in projects, I like to go on GitHub and see how much activity there is on that project, because I am a big believer in the more people on a project, the more that's really happening, the more kind of nodes you have, if you will, collaboration, and really people. I like, if one person is designing a project, I view that as a much weaker project. And if, say, you had 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people collaborating on it, I believe it becomes a stronger and stronger project, and there's a network effect that really starts taking hold. And I think that's so important in these projects. That's why another reason I think Ethereum is one of the dominant platforms is it really has one of the better network effects. It's still under Bitcoin, I believe, but as far as mass adoption, but there's a lot more developer activity, I believe, going on Ethereum. So Git Coin kind of has the same ethos, but Git Coin is actually decentralized. It's not owned by like somebody like Microsoft. So this is a development tool that has a coin that you can invest in. It's about it's on its main website, which is gitcoin.co. It says, build and fund the open web together. Connect with the community, developing digital public goods, creating financial freedom, and defining the future of the web. So what does this all mean? They have 4 main points as to like what they offer. It says earn, and it says you can earn while building open source public good projects that matter. So you can get linked up with projects, and you can actually earn tokens by contributing to these projects. And I'll be honest, I'm going to look into this and see if, I don't know anything about coding in Solidity, which is what is used on Ethereum. But if there's any way I can earn some income working with one of these projects, and maybe even teach myself some of this stuff, because I think this is one of the most important projects. Not this particular coin, but just blockchain as a whole is one of the most important projects going on in the world right now, and probably for the distant future. It really I became so excited about this because this actually fulfills what the internet really can be. The next section it says learn, and it says learn from industry leaders and build meaningful relationships so you can network through this platform. Connect is the next one. Team up with a community of builders to take on exciting open source projects. And then fund. And you can support open source projects building the future of the open web. So it's almost like a crowdfunder and a development platform for these projects. And maybe getting up people off GitHub, which is owned by Microsoft, and developing on this open source platform. Up at the top, this is something important. So not all of these coins are completely decentralized. So some projects choose to be and some don't. And some are actually more linked. Like there's a token for like Voyager. That is a centralized platform, like Coinbase. Coinbase could have done its own token. So you can have real world companies doing tokens, and that does not necessarily mean it's super decentralized. Some of my favorite projects, take Uniswap, for example. Uniswap is almost like a competitor to Coinbase. They allow the exchange of tokens, and they started off with a team of developers, and they transitioned Uniswap to being a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, which I believe is the future of work. You really can build a project, and then you can almost release it into the wild, and then you have like tokens associated with it. So then at that point, the people, the token holders can vote on things, and they can decide which direction to take it. If they disagree, they can do a fork, and they can create like a variation of that project, and then the original remains. It's kind of what happened with like Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin. You have projects fork sometimes when there's disagreement, they can't come to terms on something. So this is really cool. It's allowing just all these nodes of people to connect. People can come just put their work into a system. They can learn how to contribute. They can connect and network, and then they can get funding for a project that can become something. So this is like an incubator. And how cool is it to invest in an incubator and a project that really is advancing the whole ecosystem? And they have some big partnerships, which really gets me excited. So it says millions in open source project funding. It says they've helped thousands of projects and teams grow their open source ecosystems, $20.7 million funded for different projects, and 161,206 active developers. So, I mean, I would say that's a decently robust ecosystem of developers. And what I was getting to is up at the top, it says the Git Coin now decentralized autonomous organization has officially started. Shape the future of digital public goods with Git Coin's governance token. So the token allows you to help make decisions and have a stake in the future of this decentralized company. So I think they have an app as well, which I don't know how they have an app and be fully decentralized. I guess that's possible. So let's see. Why build Web3? This is what they're saying. The internet has unlocked unprecedented opportunities for collaboration and creation. Now Web3 technology like open source protocols and decentralized blockchains gives us the ability to take that co-creation to a new scale. The Git Coin community uses this technology to fund and build digital public goods projects that serve everyone and solve our most immediate problems. It's open source, so it has open source code that meets open economies, and people can build resilient projects, better coordinate, and have positive sum outcomes. It empowers by growing networks with aligned incentives towards the well-being of each participant and the system as a whole. Collaboration through distributed funding and organizations, people can build together towards shared goals. Has a email list, and it talks about how you can get linked up with a project and earn tokens based off of that project you're contributing to. A lot of open source stuff, this is a problem that has, everything's about incentives. And I think if you have the right incentives, you really create a robust ecosystem. And a lot of open source stuff is just kind of like people getting together loosely and contributing in the hopes that it'll become something, or just because they're passionate about it. And this immediately can link people up to actually earning money. And while we all want to do something good, like it's really useful to be able to earn money or get equity in a project. And I think that's essentially what you're doing, is you're getting equity in these tokens. But unlike private equity, like private companies, as long as that token has had a international coin offering or whatever, ICO, and it's exchanged through like Uniswap or something like that, you can get liquidity, which sometimes, like I'm an investor in a few private companies through crowdfunding, and it may be like 5 or 10 years or never when I get any liquidity out of it. So that's really cool. Blockchain enables a lot of stuff like that, like quick liquidity, the possibility of having a stock market maybe one day that anywhere in the world you can trade, whereas a lot of countries like can't be part of our stock market, but maybe they could trade Tesla in like the Philippines at some point. Or maybe we could have a market that operates, companies go public on the blockchain, they could trade 24 hours a day. And I mean, that's crazy. Like I hate, I work a 9 to 5:30 job, and I sometimes miss an IPO that's coming out, or I'm trying to do some stock trading like on my lunch break, 30 minutes. And imagine if you could just do this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's revolutionary. Like it doesn't have to be as inefficient as it is. Like the stocks are based off of almost like a paper system. And if you'd had blockchain in charge of a lot of these just autonomous systems, in charge of trading stocks, you wouldn't have had like a GameStop situation. Like it just wouldn't have happened. And you're seeing this already, the resilience of these DAOs, or decentralized autonomous organizations. When you had this recent crypto crash, Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, I think, all these things, centralized exchanges went down, and they didn't have liquidity, and they just tanked, but maybe in different ways, but they all had issues. I think Robinhood's actually one of the ones that didn't have an issue, maybe. But DeFi held up this time around, and your Aves, your compounds, your Uniswaps, your Sushi swaps, they held, and they were able to take all this volatility that was happening. They've got liquidity pools, and the systems they have in place. It's not susceptible to human error, and a lot of the problems that centralization causes. Centralization really did bring us a long way in a lot of industries. Like factories made things more efficient for a while. Centralization of water systems helped us have clean water. Centralization hasn't always been bad. It was actually really good for a certain period of time. But we're getting to a point where, because decentralization was impossible at some point, and it was such low quality if it was decentralized. But now we're getting to where we can have the quality of centralization and the security of decentralization. And it's actually, with technology at scale, we can make this happen and avoid a lot of the problems of centralization. And we're seeing, I'm in North Carolina, we had that pipeline shut down from a hack. And like, if there was enough decentralization, like those kind of things wouldn't be as much of a threat. It would be down to a little tiny region. Because we have such centralization, we might have power plants at risk, or all these major things that a nation state or even small actors could levy on us. So decentralization with the right technology is a great thing. And this blockchain technology is one of the first things that has actually been able to allow us to have that decentralized trust, which is critical, and that hasn't been possible before. Let's see. So this is kind of repeating some of the same stuff. I wanted to. So this has got some quotes of different people and developers that have used Git Coin, and it's got a quote from Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum. It says, Gitcoin grants quadratic funding. Gitcoin grants quadratic funding is not just for funds allocation. It's also a great signaling tool for the last few rounds. Going to https://coin.co/grants. So this is Vitalik, the founder of Ethereum, one of the biggest blockchains, the second biggest blockchain. And he is saying that you can discover a ton of cool projects. So maybe go on gitcoin.co/grants, and you can see maybe some that aren't even available to the masses yet. And maybe some good future investment opportunities. This is a quote from a developer. I am amazed on a daily basis at the incredible projects and communities in the space. The Gitcoin team and quadratic funding is an invaluable catalyst to bring it all to fruition. And so all these people are kind of raving about how it really helps get things started, how it really gets projects off the ground, and is a good networking tool. So the big points it was emphasizing was learn crypto doing development, build blockchain knowledge as you go, connect, meet top developers in Web3, fund, support meaningful open source projects, and govern, that's what the token is for, and decide the future of the open web. The products that they have, it says bounties, development resources at your fingertips. So they have resources for developing projects. Hackathons, you can enter into hackathons and build with the coolest Web3 projects. They have grants, crowdfunding for open source, quests, learn about Web3 and earn rewards. So it looks like they have good educational portion. So if you are wanting to learn about becoming part of this ecosystem. I would go to this website of Git Coin and look up the quests section and see like what kind of educational tools they have. Kudos shows appreciation for each other, so you can be supportive of other developers. Kernel, a Web3 native community-centric accelerator. So it works kind of like some of these venture capital accelerators, but in a decentralized way. Community, you can see they have a leaderboard. You can see top developers on Gitcoin. Town Square, see what's happening on Gitcoin, and they have a Discord. Another thing I've been told is a lot of these different coins and tokens. If you really want to get into the weeds and figure out what they're really about, talk to the community, maybe even get a job opportunity and get involved. A lot of these tokens have a Discord channel, and you can get on there and just start talking to people. And it sounds like this industry is mostly networking, and you just build a name for yourself, because a lot of people are starting from scratch. This is so new. This is like when the internet came out. It was just so new. It's about building those relationships, putting yourself out there. You don't even, but the cool thing is, with a lot of this stuff, you don't even have to use your real name. You can like anonymously become part of a project and get paid for it in tokens. So a lot of opportunity, and that's what gets me so excited. And I'm trying to personally find all these ways to make money in this industry besides just sitting there with some Bitcoin and waiting for it to go up. Like, there's actually a lot of opportunities. There's the jobs, and apparently there's not enough people to do all this stuff. There's like the skills aren't there yet. There's like, I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine that a lot of schools are even teaching this kind of stuff yet. So there's the jobs. There's becoming liquidity providers in some of these pool exchanges like Uniswap, where you actually put money into tokens and it allows money to be sitting there to allow for liquidity for things to be swapped. You can loan coins out. Someday people are just going to be borrowing some crypto to get a house. And they'll probably be doing that with stable coins, not a volatile coin. But so there's lending and borrowing programs that you don't even have to go through a bank. Like, it's crazy. And then there's staking, which with things moving from proof of work, where you used to be able to make money mining. I do some mining, but I think a lot of things are moving away from that with the high energy consumption to proof of stake, and you can put your money up. I was like, why? Like, I had all my money all my Ethereum money in Ethereum on Coinbase, and then I was able to get on a sign-up sheet for when Ethereum 2.0 comes out and stake that money. So it's the same amount of money. I had to like freeze my liquidity for a little while until Ethereum 2 fully rolls out, which could be like 2 years. But the whole time I'm earning 6% APY, 6% interest on that. There's some more centralized ways to make money. There's some more decentralized ways. Decentralized lending, Aave Compound. Then more centralized lending is like BlockFi. I use BlockFi a little bit. There's yield farming, which I still got to kind of dig into what that is exactly. And there's just so many things, and your money doesn't have to just sit there and not be doing anything. And some of these stable coins, like what do you earn in a bank account? You earn, I think the best bank account I've had earned about 0.5% on my savings account. And some of these stable coins, I've seen like 4% interest on something that's pegged to the US dollar. And you can earn even more if you put that in, like if you had it available to be like loaned. Essentially, like that's what the banks are doing with your money anyway. You put your money in a bank, what are they doing? They're loaning it out for people to buy houses and stuff. Well, if you have it in your wallet, you still own your asset, and you can withdraw it at any time, but it's being lended out, and it's cut out all these middlemen, and suddenly you're able to get a chunk of what the bank is taking. Why are the banks so wealthy? Because that's what they do with the money. And now you can do it instead of that. And of course, these tokens are taking a little portion of it, but it's nothing compared to what the banks are taking. So, here's the about. Let's see. Maybe they have a better write-up real quick. They've had 1.65 thousand projects created, 161,000 monthly active developers, 20.7 million funded to open source. And this is a point I want to make. Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger were asked about cryptocurrency. And I mean, they've been great investors over time. I'm not hating on them. It was a prime example of staying in your lane and really talking about what you know. And you don't know what you don't know. And somebody was asking Warren Buffett if he thought crypto was a good investment. And him and Charlie Munger were just laughing, and they were talking about how they don't invest in unproductive assets. Okay. Gold is an unproductive asset. It's a bar, and it just sits there and doesn't do anything. Maybe it spikes when there's some inflation. I guess you can make some jewelry out of it, but if you're buying gold as like bullion, you're not doing anything with it. Bitcoin, you can kind of argue it's an unproductive asset, except, but people are buying it because they believe it has a long way to go. Even if Bitcoin just reaches what most people think it'll reach, which is the market cap of gold. I mean, you're talking like at least like $500,000 a coin. So, I mean, that's just free money essentially if it's going to do that, just to sit at it. Not to mention, and this is Bitcoin. I'm not even like a super big advocate of Bitcoin. But if you can sit there with that Bitcoin, and you can sit there and loan it and earn 5-7% interest, whatever. I wouldn't say that's an unproductive asset. That's the same as like having a growth stock that pays a very high dividend, which I thought Warren Buffett likes value stocks that pay high dividends. So to me, that's already better than what he likes. I haven't even got to Ethereum. Now Ethereum, and it has a fixed amount. So already better than gold because we don't know how much gold there is. They can mine an asteroid and suddenly gold's worthless. Ethereum, when this new protocol goes in, every time Ethereum is used for a transaction, a portion will be paid to the people that are staking it, and then some will be burned. So it'll actually be deflationary. So the Ethereum will automatically go up in price. So it's already like a growth stock. And as more and more people demand and use it, and there's more layer 2s built on, and then like retail comes in and starts using it because suddenly there aren't these high gas fees. But then you've got all these projects built on top of Ethereum is not a fallow asset because it's used as the fuel that's fueling all of the decentralized finance, the NFTs, this whole ecosystem. Then you've got all these, you can actually almost get PE ratios, price to earnings ratios, which investors love. I'm sure Warren Buffett knows a thing or two about PE ratios. You can get PE ratios almost on some of these like Uniswap and SushiSwap. And somebody broke it down the other day in a podcast. And I think Uniswap or SushiSwap had like a PE of like 12 and 8 or something like that. Like if they broke down like the money they're bringing in compared to like what their market cap is. It's freaking insane. And you're talking about Uniswap, which almost does as much as Coinbase, if not more, in transactions. And they've been around a lot less time. They have almost no people compared to like a Coinbase. They have like no overhead. It's literally sitting there as autonomous code. Someone even broke it down as like how much each line of code was worth for Uniswap, and they were like $10 million or something crazy. A line of code, if you like literally just like divided the amount of lines of code by what their market cap is, it's just mind-boggling. And these are companies bringing in real revenue. Companies, you can call them companies because they're not just a coin. A Dogecoin is just sitting there. This is why I don't like Dogecoin. It's not creating any value, and it's printing like 10,000 Doge a minute or something crazy. Like it's deflating, or no, it's inflating. So people just have to keep buying it for it to be worth anything. Now, there are coins and assets within the space that are not businesses, but an Aave, a Compound, a Uniswap, a SushiSwap, Enzyme Finance, a Curve, this token, Git Coin. They are funding real companies. 20.7 million funded to open source. 161,000 monthly active users. 1.65 thousand projects created. And they're selling real tokens. Let's see what Microsoft bought GitHub, and this seems like a similar project to GitHub. So they bought it years ago, so it's worth a lot more now. But what did Microsoft pay for GitHub? Microsoft pay, it's in the billions, I'm sure, for GitHub. Here we go. So this gives us a rough, and I think this is in a better industry. All right, Microsoft acquired GitHub, a popular code repository service used by many developers and large companies, for $7.5 billion in stock. Let that sink in. So this is a company that does something similar. $7.5 billion in stock. And this is a decentralized company. And the investment world in Wall Street, this is why you have such an advantage. They don't understand any of this yet. There's some people that do. But the floodgates haven't even opened yet. And there are BS projects. Who knows? Maybe this one doesn't make it. This is all the Wild West. It's all speculation at this point. But you are seeing results from certain projects, and like if this is the blockchain GitHub, it has real value. And I would say it has more value because it's so decentralized that it makes way easier for more people to participate. And I think when you give people equity in a project too, it's going to create a lot more. That's why none of these projects have to make tokens, by the way. Some of them don't. But most projects that have been successful have, because what is a bigger motivator than making money? What's a bigger motivator? I think it's almost like part of the ecosystem to have these people that are so hardcore into Ethereum or to Bitcoin or whatever, because they really just advance the network effect of these coins. And it's just, it's almost like who has the better evangelist for their coin. But, it has to at some point be backed up by some type of fundamentals. No coin had bigger evangelists than Dogecoin. But at some point, if there's no substance there, it's going to collapse under its own weight. And I think you're just kind of seeing that stall out. You're seeing a lot of garbage. And People can pump something, but it's, if it doesn't have any substance, people are going to eventually vote it out. So let's move on to the next coin, which is AMP. We have AMP token. I pulled up the FAQ. Gotta reload this. Okay. All right. So what is AMP? I had to look this one up. AMP is the new digital collateral token. Oh, Coinbase has this one, and you can actually earn $3 free if you're signed up with Coinbase. Coinbase does have a cool feature where, like, sometimes when tokens are released, you can watch some videos and take some quizzes, and you can earn free. I've earned like $50 worth of free crypto. So, and you don't even have to hold on to it. You can trade it for something else if you're not that interested in it. But AMP is one of these three that actually has a way to earn some free. It's $3, but who knows? Maybe that'll be worth a lot someday. Or you can trade it in for some Ether. So AMP is the new digital collateral token offering instant verifiable assurances for any kind of value transfer. Using AMP, networks like Flexa can quickly and irreversibly secure transactions for a wide variety of asset-related use cases. Learn more about AMP and what makes it unique in AMP 101, or keep reading. So this is related to transactions in the real world. Like, this would be used, or I guess online, as if you've ever had cards, when a retailer is taking like a credit card, sometimes it'll come up as a fraud, and then they get screwed out a bunch of money. And this is acting as the blockchain solution to invalid transactions, and it provides collateral backing for a transaction. So it operates as kind of a utility token for the payment rails to the real world. It's pretty cool, actually. I went to a Bitcoin meetup, and somebody was there. He works for a point of sale system company that sets. We were at a cigar bar, and they use his system, and he has like a little point of sale system that'll take like Visa and MasterCard. Like, he can set them up with the whole shebang, like the computer monitor or the tablet, and then the card reader and everything. But it also takes Puni-X or something like that. They have their own token, but that's why some of this is really cool, because they have their own token and you can invest in it. It's a real world asset, and I don't understand how. That's why I'm just like, Buffett can't understand all of this if he's just like writing it off, saying it's. I think he just thinks it's all these just. Back in like 2015 or so, it was a lot of just coins floating around. There was, a lot of stuff that wasn't backed to anything, wasn't generating real world revenue. That's not the way it is anymore. I mean, this is literally. I don't know whether this company will like be successful, but I mean, when people talk about stuff failing in the crypto space, it's all public. That's why it's a big deal. Like, everyone sees them fail, but like you all these private companies and venture capital are funded and stuff, and when a lot of these VCs are funding businesses, they're funding, like, look at even some of the most successful ones. I can't remember the one that like Airbnb and some of the biggest ones have come out of, but literally they're funding like hundreds of companies just to get that one Airbnb. And maybe some of the other ones don't go under, but they like don't make hardly any money. And I mean, if you look at the people on Shark Tank, I bet only a few of their projects will really pay for themselves. But it's that one that really pays for everything. It's the Airbnb or the Stripe or some company that just goes bonkers, that goes viral and just really adds a lot of value. And maybe in the other ones, they might have been good ideas, but they just didn't work, or maybe they just didn't have the right founder or something. But this has a real world aspect to it. It sets people up to take cryptocurrencies, and they have their own token. And when they get revenue, it like I don't know how decentralized this is. It has to be centralized to some extent to have hardware. Like when you start going into the real world, that's why there's a token on Coinbase called like Internet Computer, and they're saying they're going to be like the Internet of blockchains, and but they're going to have like real world servers and stuff, which is like, that's not that decentralized if they're controlling like like Amazon Web Services kind of thing. Like, I mean, that's like real world stuff. If you're talking about storage, like actual decentralization is like breaking up all this data and spreading it over all the different computers in the network and in like fractional ways, and then being able to like pull it together like on a whim when you need the data, like not storing it in these centralized servers. But when you get into having like real world assets and stuff, I question how decentralized that is. But maybe they have an element that they're able to spin off as a DAO, and they still have some physical element to it. AMP also has a Discord and a Twitter, if you want to find more information about them. So how does AMP work? This is on the FAQ if you're going back and looking at anything. AMP offers a straightforward but exceptionally versatile interface for verifiable collateralization, the backing of transactions through a system of collateral partitions and collateral managers, where collateral partitions can be designated to collateralize, back any account, application, or even transaction, like a real-world transaction, and carry balances which are directly verifiable on the Ethereum blockchain. I like Ethereum tokens. Collateral managers are smart contracts that can lock, release, and direct collateral in these partitions as needed in order to support value transfer activities. AMP supports a wide variety of use cases for collateralization and also introduces the concept of predefined partition strategies, which can enable special capabilities such as collateral models through which tokens can be staked without ever leaving their original address. So when you're staking, you don't have to like take anything out of your wallet. You can just have it staked, and it's helping secure the network. Symbol for AMP is AMP. Which wallets are compatible with AMP? AMP is an ERC20 compliant token built on Ethereum using Ether to pay for gas. AMP tokens can be sent and received using an ERC20 compatible wallet, which is a lot of them. Let's see. Have they been audited? Have the AMP token contracts been audited? It says yes. You always want to just look into how kind of the reliability, and that's one thing with investing in some of the crypto stuff is a company on the NYSE or New York Stock Exchange, any of the different stock exchanges, NASDAQ, and all that. Like there's they have to report all their earnings and all this stuff. So I actually think it'll be good when there's more regulation that comes into the space, but it does require some digging and kind of doing some research, and maybe just finding people that you really trust that validate them. So it says yes, they have the AMP smart contracts and related source materials were audited by independent security researchers at Consensus. Consensus is a really big company in the blockchain space, so they have really good research. They have a diligence and trail of bits. Etherscan, I think, is another thing that you can look up transactions on the blockchain. In June 2020, the AMP smart contracts were audited by Consensus Diligence. Over the course of 3 weeks, Consensus researchers identified 0 critical issues. And I won't read all that. I'm sure it's super boring. But it looks like they've been through some auditing system, and probably look that up through consensus, and it says something about trail of bits. So consensus and trail of bits. What efforts have been made to decentralize control of the AMP token contracts? So are they trying to spin this off in as decentralized way as possible to minimize the influence that any one entity or individual have over the AMP token standard and network? The AMP token contract offers a fixed, non-inflationary token, meaning the supply is fixed and it's not going to print anymore. That's another thing to look at when you're investing in a token is the tokenomics and whether they can just print like our government can. You don't want to just buy something that has the same problem that we have with our own dollar, unless they have some logical reason for it, and that's up to you to decide. Fixed non-inflationary token, because AMP can be permissionlessly extended through collateral manager contracts by any project that builds on the AMP platform. The value of the AMP token is derived solely from the value of projects that choose to adopt it. So it's saying the more projects that use the AMP token, the more it's going to be worth. As deployed to the Ethereum mainnet, the AMP token contracts explicitly disable any administrative privileges for executing standard ERC20 method calls, or mint, burn, and transfer. So it's saying they can't make any more. The administration cannot mint any more tokens. They can't burn tokens or transfer. So they can't alter the amount of tokens in circulation at all. In fact, the sole functionality available to the owner of the AMP contract is the ability to append new partition validator strategies. So the only centralized controls, and I think some of these tokens have this, is like where they can still make some changes to it, but they can't adjust like any of the fundamental like monetary things. They can't like, line their pockets or anything, but maybe they can update something to where it's more effective, or it's a better service. Is ability to append new partition validator strategies, which cannot be used to affect the partitions of any existing tokens when appended. So it can only make changes going forward, not to people's tokens in the past. As of September 2020, the private key for this owner address is held by Flexa. So AMP is the open source. So there's AMP and Flexa. AMP is the open source collateral token standard that enables instant and irreversible collateralization of any form of value transfer. So any transaction that happens, it makes sure that there's collateralization behind it, so there can't be a fraudulent charge. So it offers protections that credit cards don't offer, or that they try to offer and sometimes screw up. Flexa is a payments network that enables fast and fraud-proof payments for merchants all over the world. So Flexa sounds like almost like a payments network like Visa or MasterCard. By using AMP partitions as collateral pools, Flexa can secure payment authorizations while the underlying asset remains unconfirmed and approve merchant transactions in close to real time. So like right when you're at the register or checking out online. In helping to develop the AMP token, Flexa contributed 2 years of research and development to the token architecture and design, and developed and released the first AMP collateral manager contract as open source. So they've had a lot of community input. So I would definitely check out, if you want to learn more about this, amptoken.org/FAQ. This next one is going to be Enzyme Finance. So Enzyme, from what I was reading, seems to be an aggregator of a lot of different decentralized finance systems. So one thing that is super confusing to me is you've got all the different, you've got Compound, you've got Aave, you've got, like I've mentioned, all these different programs that you can borrow, lend, and stake or do yield farming, add liquidity to a system. And what Enzyme looks to do, they have an app. They have an app just like Git Coin. I think Git Coin has an app. And so it's on-chain asset management. And so this is actually, like, when I read this, I was like, I need this. This is because this whole ecosystem, while it's really awesome, and for a normal person, it is. So like UX is user experience. That's the term for user experience. UX designer is somebody that like makes your apps and all the things on your. You shouldn't know how all the complications that go into something. Like when you're using anything, like Amazon or Facebook or YouTube or anything, like if you had, the more things you have to do, the more confusing it is, the more you might just give up. When somebody's designing Strat, like you deal with an Apple product and it's just like, a lot of developers don't like it because I think I'm having some connection issues. Okay, a lot of developers don't like Apple because they tightly control everything, but Apple likes to control the user experience, and I like their products because it's just bam, like like a baby could do it, like, and maybe like somebody that's not the most tech savvy can figure out how to do it because it's intuitive, and it just makes sense. You like, oh, you click here, you do this with your hand, you like, it's so nice. And blockchain has it on mainstream, whether like people like in the industry may think, oh, this all, like, it seems like it's a big deal just because people are all talking about Dogecoin or it's on SNL or something like that. Most people haven't interacted with like buying coins, or if they have, it's just been like on Coinbase, and it's just like, buy some Bitcoin, buy some Ethereum, oh, buy a meme coin. Most people, less than 1% of people have even interesting areas to me right now. So many things that have to be worked out before we can even advance into like all these distant use cases of crypto. Like everybody wants to already be investing in like streaming on blockchain or all this stuff, and you're like, well, maybe it doesn't even need to be on blockchain. Who knows? But like they haven't even like resolved some of the base layer stuff yet. And DeFi, there's so many different things, and then there's like with in NFTs, and then you got MetaMask, like you can put it in your browser, but like, you know, you got to scan a QR code and move some money over here and blah, 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 and deal with some gas fees and really high fees at that. And it's just not, I mean, that's why people pay all these really high fees on like Coinbase or something, because it's just, I just want to be able to buy some crypto. I don't need a hardware wallet, cold storage, and I don't need to like, you know, have my own private keys to remember, all this stuff. And this is what this seems to be, is something that aggregates a lot of the different things DeFi and gets it down into a simple interface. It says too many DeFi projects to follow, too busy to put your own money to work. Find a vault with a proven track record on Enzyme and free yourself from the day-to-day hassles while retaining full custody of your assets. You can filter strategies by assets, risk, and performance, and find one that fits your risk profile. Control. Enzyme enables you to retain custody of your assets at all times. Like, you don't want your money to have to be transferred all over the place. Your money goes where you want it, whenever you want. Transparency. Enzyme provides full transparency about how strategies are performing, together with information about how they're set up, operated, and composed. So you can see what all is happening. That's why people don't like banks. Like, what are you doing with my money? Like, why are you making so much? I'm not making anything. Um, build. Enzyme empowers you to build and scale vaults based on that's their term, based on the investment strategies of your choice, from discretionary and robo to ETFs, exchange traded funds. That's a familiar term. That's in the stock market, and market making. Security, a lot of this stuff is moving over. Like a lot of people that are really heavily into stocks and finance, like centralized finance world, they get it. They get it. They're like, oh wow, this is first of all, it's going to put my industry out. There's a lot of people moving from the TradFi or traditional finance world to decentralized because they see where things are going and the opportunities here. And smart people want to have the first mover advantage and really like make their mark on this space. Dumb people want to pretend that there's not an issue and like, oh, this will take a long time or never to happen. And in reality, who knows? It could happen very fast though. Adoption follows like more of an exponential curve. It seems to go slow at first, and then it picks up really quickly. Look at a chart of different technologies' adoption curves, and you can see that. And it's only gotten faster. The telephone took a certain amount of time, the automobile, the microwave, and then you start getting to the internet and cell phones, and it's straight up, like so fast. I mean, it may have felt like a little while, but it was on the spectrum of time. It's so fast. Security is our priority. Our second generation smart contract enforced platform is thoroughly tested and audited before any mainnet deployments are made. Value. Enzyme provides an easy, secure, and low-cost way of setting up and operating your vault. With its inbuilt accounting tools, it also enables you to report back in real time to depositors. Scale. Enzyme connects you to a pool of potential savers, making it easier to attract and build a community of supporters. This means you can focus on what you do best, developing investment strategies. Now, so it integrates with a lot of different tokens. So therefore, what I'm thinking the possibilities is that you don't have to be involved with all these different things. As far as like having them all open in your browser, maybe you can just do it all from within this app. And so they have some of the biggest names in the space: Uniswap and liquidity pools, Kyber Swap, that's Kyber is a token, Paraswap, synthetics, that's where you can do synthetic assets that are like based off of real world assets, maybe stocks or commodities, gold, oil, whatever, or indexes. Compound lending, Aave lending, Idle Finance, Curve liquidity pools, Alpha Finance, Ox, and more coming soon. They have 200 plus supported tokens. It says, you asked, we listened. Enzyme now has 200 plus tokens with liquidity from the ecosystem's best decentralized exchanges. Take position any listed token. That's a heck of a lot more tokens than Coinbase has. So offers you accessibility to a lot more tokens. And that's the biggest complaint I have about something like Coinbase is like how slowly they trickle in more coins. Enzyme has their own token. Enzyme Finance was formerly known as Melon Protocol. I love these names of these things. The token has a new, I don't care about this icon and name, but the MLN ticker and contract address stay the same. MLN is used to pay for various functions throughout the vault creation process and investment lifestyle. Like, this is cool. I mean, imagine if Fidelity or Charles Schwab had like their own tokens. Like, you have a part in it. Like, well, I mean, obviously you can own like a stock in Fidelity, but imagine if like your stock like did things, and you could like vote on. Well, I guess yeah, you can vote with a stock, but it was more had like utility purpose too. So I mean, these these tokens, like it's like a stock, but it's also like and they're having to be real careful with that stuff too, because the SEC is they haven't decided how to evaluate all these things, and some tokens are getting in trouble for saying for being like securities. I don't understand how they're evaluating all this. I think they should just let them all be securities. Um, but that's out of my pay grade. There is currently a proposal in front of the Enzyme Council to substantially change the token economic model. You can read more about it here. So if you want to learn what they're doing, possibly to change the economics of the token, like I said, every token has its own. If you want to figure out if it has fixed supply or deflationary or inflationary aspects, they've got blog posts on the new things they're doing. They have some testimonials. People excited about it. Yeah, I think it's a. I was trying to see if the FAQ had any interesting things as far as have they been audited. They have been formally audited by PwC and are available publicly here. Second audit will commence with Open Zeppelin Q3 this year. Cool. So, one thing Coinbase does is like vets projects a lot when they put a token onto this platform. So, they don't put a lot of sketchy stuff on there, which I was surprised why they put Doge on there, to be honest. But yeah, these are 3 tokens I'm actually pretty pumped about. Like, I think I will be buying them. If I had to prioritize which ones I want to buy the most, I'm excited about all 3 of these, to be honest. Like, sometimes they release like 4 coins and like, I don't know, like I won't buy any of them, or maybe I'll buy one. I'm still building up positions in a lot of my Coinbase or a lot of my different cryptocurrencies, but these are definitely all ones I'm going to dip my toes into. Git Coin is probably the one I'm most interested in. Like, I see absolute, like, I'm fascinated with like, being able to like help start up projects and having an ecosystem of collaboration. Even if it doesn't make the most money, I think that is a really cool space to be into. It's personally the space I'm the most interested in out of this. I would say number 2. I want to say Enzyme because I feel like that would be the most usefulness to me personally. I don't know whether they're like the best ones to be doing that, but I mean, they have collaboration with a lot of the DeFi applications that I really want to use, and I'm going to try out Enzyme. So, and I'm definitely going to look into Git Coin to see if I can maybe get involved in a project and contribute in any way. I don't know what I can do, but it's job security, and definitely like want to see what kind of opportunities there are in the space. And being involved in those communities, you can learn about good projects to talk about on here or to invest in. So I definitely want to get on more of those discords to chat with people and to really delve into those communities. And that's the way you learn. That's the way you get better in these. Like, what I'm just looking at is the websites of these things. Where you really learn stuff is by really pushing into the communities, talking with people who use them, talking with the developers, and that's really the way you're going to find out whether these projects are worth anything, because it's really easy to make a good website. It's really easy to look good, and the developers will be honest with you, and they'll tell you if it's a good project or not. AMP. I mean, I think AMP has a lot of usefulness potentially. I just don't know enough about the point of sale system to know if that's something. I don't know if there's a better solution already for that problem. Like, are they a solution searching for a problem, or is that like a thing that is really needed, or is there someone doing that better? But I want to look into it. I feel like it could, like, if that is something that really needs solved, it could be a very lucrative token. So I want to research like how many projects want to be involved with them, because they said their token is pegged to how many projects want to work with them. So is any other project like, hey, we need to work with AMP? Because if they're not, then what usefulness are they? You know, so they're only as useful as they are implemented. So that could be something really interesting. So my breakdown is that I think Git Coin is the most interesting, then Enzyme, then AMP. Would love to know your feedback. Definitely message me on here or send me a message on Twitter, and just get to me and let me know what your thoughts are. If you have some insight, I would love to know. And maybe I could even I would love to interview somebody if you have something on this subject, on another subject. If you have any good information, or you're a developer in stocks and technology, in crypto, hit me up and I'll set up a Zoom call and we can do an interview. And if you're part of a project, you're welcome to like bring it up and discuss it, and kind of plug your thing. But I'd love to have some interesting people to talk to, and I'm hoping to get some really interesting people on in the near future to interview. I really liked doing a interview on my friend that does mining a while back. That's really what got me into crypto so much. I've almost neglected some of the technology stocks. Obviously, this is all technology, but this is like such an exciting space, and this is disruptive technology, and this is a whole ecosystem of disruptive technology. And I just think this is like 5G. Like everything's going to use 5G at some point. Like everything's almost going to use blockchain, unless it doesn't need to. But anywhere where you need decentralized trust, it's going to be here. There may be iterations. There may be like, this will, like, you might have centralized companies using more centralized blockchain. You may have other people using more decentralized. It may be a fragmented thing. Like, I don't think it's going to be winner take all, but maybe winner take most. Well, thanks for listening. And, this was just kind of a spur of the moment decision to talk about these 3 coins. But, I wanted to, if I'm doing this research, I want to like just kind of do it while I'm talking to you guys too. So I hope you enjoyed it. And I will put this up on the podcast probably tomorrow. So thanks, guys.